Run your hand across the surface of an H-block at Puma Punku and you'll feel something impossible. No bumps, no irregularities. Mirror-smooth stone polished to tolerances that modern stonemasons achieve only with computer-controlled machinery. These aren't small decorative pieces. They're multi-ton blocks of andesite, one of the hardest stones on Earth, cut and finished to precision measured in fractions of a millimeter. The official timeline says they were made in the 6th century CE with copper chisels and stone hammers. The physical evidence says that's not possible. Someone at Puma Punku had technology we can't explain, and mainstream archaeology has spent decades avoiding the specifics of why. This is the forensic case for a civilization that shouldn't exist. Puma Punku sits at 12,800 feet in the Bolivian highlands, part of the larger Tiwanaku complex near Lake Titicaca. The site is a debris field now, massive blocks scattered as if by catastrophic force, some weighing over 130 tons. Archaeologists date the construction to between 536 and 600 CE, attributing it to the Tiwanaku culture, a pre-Columbian civilization that supposedly worked with copper tools, fiber ropes, and human labor. That's the official narrative. But when you examine what's actually there, the precision of the cuts, the sophistication of the joinery, the absence of any evolutionary development in technique, the timeline stops making sense. There are no primitive early attempts here, no gradual improvement, just sudden appearance of master-level precision, as if the technology came fully formed from somewhere else, or someone else. The H-blocks are the smoking gun. These massive red sandstone and andesite pieces, some weighing 80 tons, feature perfectly flat surfaces, precise right angles, and complex interlocking joints. In 1995, a team of engineers surveyed them with laser measurement tools. They found flatness tolerances within 0.5 millimeters across surfaces spanning several meters. For context, that's the precision standard for modern machine shop work. It's what you get from CNC mills and surface grinders, not from men with copper chisels. And it's not just one block. It's multiple blocks, all showing the same impossible accuracy. The question isn't whether this precision exists. The measurements confirm it does. The question is how a Bronze Age culture achieved what modern stonemasons can't replicate without industrial equipment. And why official archaeological literature consistently avoids publishing these technical specifications. Let's address the copper tool explanation directly. Mainstream archaeology claims the Tiwanaku used copper chisels, possibly alloyed with arsenic or tin, to cut and shape andesite. Andesite is a volcanic stone that registers between 6 and 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Copper, even when alloyed, maxes out around 3.5 to 4. In practical terms, this means copper is softer than the stone it's supposed to cut. When you strike andesite with a copper chisel, the chisel deforms. The stone doesn't. Modern stonemasons have tried to replicate even simple cuts on andesite using Bronze Age tool replicas. The results are consistent. The tools break, bend, or mushroom at the striking end. After hours of work, they produce rough, irregular gouges, nothing remotely close to the mirror-smooth surfaces at Puma Punku. And here's what should bother you. There are no tool marks, no copper residue embedded in the stone, no vast middens of broken chisels that such work would require. The evidence for copper tools isn't there. The precision that contradicts copper tools is. Then there's the diorite problem. Some of the blocks at Puma Punku aren't andesite. They're diorite, a stone that registers 7 on the Mohs scale, approaching the hardness of quartz. Diorite is so hard that even modern steel tools dull quickly when cutting it. Yet at Puma Punku, you find diorite blocks with perfectly drilled holes, some with parallel sides that indicate rotary drilling. Others have cuts so clean they look laser-guided. Archaeologists suggest the builders used harder stones as abrasives, pounding and grinding over months or years to achieve these cuts. But that explanation collapses under scrutiny. Grinding produces a specific surface texture, rough matte with visible abrasion marks. The diorite at Puma Punku is polished smooth. No grinding marks, no peck marks from pounding stones, just surfaces that reflect light. We're not talking about primitive craftsmanship here. We're talking about a level of stone finishing that requires either unknown techniques or technology the timeline doesn't allow. Now examine the joinery. The H-blocks don't just sit on top of each other. They interlock using a sophisticated system of eye-shaped metal cramps and mortise and tenon joints. The cramps were poured molten into recessed channels carved into adjacent blocks, locking them together once cooled. The precision of these channels is remarkable. They're cut to exact depths with perfectly vertical sides, designed to hold the metal without gaps. But here's what makes this engineering significant. The system allows for flexibility. The blocks can shift slightly during seismic activity without the structure collapsing. It's the same principle modern earthquake-resistant architecture uses. Rigid connections break, flexible ones absorb energy. The Tiwanaku supposedly had no written language, no mathematical notation we've found, no engineering manuals. Yet they encoded advanced seismic principles into stone. Principles that Western architecture didn't formalize until after studying earthquake damage in the 20th century. How does a culture develop that level of physics without leaving evidence of the development process? Let's talk about repetition. Several of the H-blocks are nearly identical, same dimensions, same cuts, same angles. When you measure them, you find the variations are minimal, well within a millimeter. This suggests the use of templates or standardized patterns. In modern manufacturing, we achieve this with jigs, molds, or CNC programming, tools that ensure each piece matches the specifications exactly. But at Puma Punku, we're supposed to believe each block was hand-cut individually, yet somehow they all came out the same. There's no evidence of master patterns, no surviving templates, no written specifications. Just identical blocks that imply a level of quality control that shouldn't exist without systematic manufacturing processes. And here's the detail that should haunt you. Some blocks show evidence of modular design, as if they were components in a larger prefabricated system. Pieces designed to fit together in specific configurations. That's not how primitive stone working evolves. That's industrial thinking. The transportation problem compounds the mystery. The red sandstone blocks at Puma Punku, some weighing 130 tons, came from quarries at least 10 kilometers away. The andesite came from even farther, across Lake Titicaca or around it, depending on the route. We're talking about moving objects that weigh as much as a loaded 737 across mountainous terrain at 12,000-foot altitude. Archaeologists propose the use of log rollers, ropes, and thousands of workers. But the math doesn't work. Logs compress and break under that much weight. Ropes fray and snap. And the terrain between the quarries and the site includes steep grades that would require not just moving the stones, but lifting them. Modern heavy equipment struggles with loads this size at this altitude. Yet we're supposed to accept that Bronze Age workers managed it with primitive tools and no evidence of the infrastructure, roads, ramps, support systems, such an operation would require. Where are the wear marks on the stones from ropes? Where are the remains of the thousands of logs? Where's any physical evidence this method was used? Now we come to the dating controversy. The official timeline places Puma Punku's construction between 536 and 600 CE, based primarily on radiocarbon dating of organic materials found in the area and ceramic typology. But geological evidence tells a different story. The site shows signs of severe water erosion, not the gradual weathering you'd expect from rain and wind over 1,500 years, but catastrophic flooding. Some blocks appear to have been moved by immense hydraulic force, scattered across the site in patterns consistent with a massive water event. Geologists who have examined the weathering patterns argue the erosion would require thousands of years more than the official date allows. There's also the astronomical alignment issue. Some researchers have noted that certain structures align with celestial positions that don't match the 6th century. They match positions from much earlier, potentially thousands of years earlier. When these findings are presented, they're dismissed as pseudoscience. But the measurements exist. The erosion patterns exist. The question is why mainstream archaeology refuses to seriously investigate them. Let's examine what's missing from the archaeological record. If the Tiwanaku built Puma Punku with primitive tools over decades or centuries, we should find evidence of that process. We should find quarry sites with half-finished blocks showing the progression of work. We should find tool caches, broken chisels by the thousands, the detritus of a massive stone-working operation. We should find evidence of learning, early attempts that are crude, later attempts that improve. But we don't find any of that. The precision at Puma Punku appears fully formed, with no evolutionary development. It's as if the technology was imported complete, used to build the site, and then vanished. Some researchers have proposed that the Tiwanaku didn't build Puma Punku, they inherited it from an earlier, unknown civilization. That they found these ruins, occupied them, and built their own structures around them using cruder techniques. If you compare the finest work at Puma Punku to later Tiwanaku constructions, the quality drop is stark. It's two different levels of capability. That's not how technology evolves. That's how it's lost. In 2012, a team of engineers attempted to replicate a single H-block using only tools and techniques available to the Tiwanaku. They had access to copper chisels, stone hammers, sand abrasives, and unlimited time. After 3 months of work, they produced a block with rough surfaces, irregular angles, and dimensions that varied by several centimeters. Nothing close to the precision of the originals. The experiment was documented but received little attention in mainstream archaeological circles. Because it demonstrated what many researchers already suspected. The official explanation doesn't work. You cannot produce Puma Punku's precision with Bronze Age tools, not in a reasonable time frame, not without leaving evidence of the process. The silence around these failed replication attempts is telling. When experiments confirm the established narrative, they're published widely. When they contradict it, they're ignored. That's not science. That's dogma protection. Here's what makes Puma Punku different from other ancient mysteries. The precision is measurable. We're not dealing with subjective interpretations or ambiguous artifacts. We have laser measurements showing sub-millimeter tolerances. We have Mohs hardness data proving copper can't cut diorite. We have engineering analysis confirming the seismic principles in the joinery. These are facts, not theories. And they create a paradox that mainstream archaeology cannot resolve without abandoning the established timeline. Either the Tiwanaku had technology we don't know about, technology that left no trace and was somehow lost completely, or someone else built Puma Punku, someone with capabilities that don't fit anywhere in our current model of human development. There's a third possibility that no one in academic archaeology will say out loud. We're wrong about the timeline entirely. That civilizations with advanced technology existed thousands of years before we think civilization began. And that Puma Punku is evidence of that hidden chapter. The academic resistance to re-examining Puma Punku is institutional. Archaeologists who question the timeline face career consequences, denied tenure, rejected papers, marginalization in their field. The Smithsonian and other major institutions have a documented history of dismissing anomalous artifacts that don't fit the narrative. In the case of Puma Punku, requests for comprehensive laser scanning and detailed technical analysis have been repeatedly denied or delayed. Why? If the official explanation is correct, detailed analysis should confirm it. The fact that such analysis is avoided suggests the opposite, that institutional archaeology knows the data won't support the Bronze Age tool narrative. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is pattern recognition. When an institution consistently avoids examining evidence that could challenge its foundational claims, you have to ask what it's protecting. The answer might be simpler than you think: credibility. If Puma Punku proves the timeline is wrong, everything built on that timeline collapses. Careers, textbooks, museum exhibits, funding, all of it rests on a chronology that Puma Punku contradicts. Consider what we know for certain. Puma Punku displays machining precision that modern stonemasons cannot replicate without CNC equipment. The stones are harder than the tools supposedly used to cut them. The joinery encodes seismic engineering principles not formalized until the 20th century. The site shows no evolutionary development in technique, and geological evidence suggests it's far older than the official date. Every one of these facts, taken individually, is problematic for the established narrative. Taken together, they dismantle it. We're left with two options: accept that our understanding of ancient technology is incomplete, or accept that our timeline of human civilization is wrong. Mainstream archaeology has chosen a third option: ignore the evidence and hope the questions go away. But the stones don't lie. The measurements don't lie. Puma Punku exists, and it shouldn't. Not according to everything we think we know about human history. Puma Punku forces a question that archaeology doesn't want to answer. What if we're wrong? What if the neat progression from primitive to advanced, from Stone Age to Bronze Age to Iron Age, is too simple? What if there were civilizations with capabilities we've erased from the timeline because they don't fit the model? The precision at Puma Punku isn't ambiguous. It's measurable, repeatable, and impossible to explain with the tools we're told were used. That's not interpretation, that's physics, and physics doesn't care about academic consensus. The stones are there. The cuts are there, the precision is there, and until mainstream archaeology can explain how Bronze Age workers achieved what modern engineers can't replicate, the mystery remains open, not as pseudoscience, not as fringe theory. As an unsolved case in the forensic investigation of human history, Puma Punku is evidence. The question is, evidence of what? And why are we so afraid to find out?